Remembering those lost.
It's important to really support the families that lost their loved ones.
For the 2-year anniversary of the Surfside condominium collapse. A random Russian rebellion.
Going against Ukraine is cracking Russian power.
As new details unfold over the chaos between the Wagner Group and Russia. And South Florida nightlife is getting rough, as the Seminole Hard Rock hosts a bare-knuckle brawl.
He wants to come to bare knuckle and he wants to disrespect the sport.
These stories and more coming up on Newsbreak.
Hello, South Florida. I'm Kenneth Bueno.
I'm Lauren Wirtz. Today is Monday, June 26, 2023.
Live from the Lee Caplin School of Journalism and Media in North Miami, this is Caplin News.
A local community gathers to remember those lost for the 2-year anniversary of the Surfside condo collapse. The South Florida community has come together this weekend to mark 2 years since the deadly condo collapse in Surfside.
Our reporter Layan Abu Tarbush was at the ceremony and has more on the story.
Saturday, June 24th marks the 2-year anniversary of the Caplin Tower South building collapse, a tragic incident that claimed the lives of 98 people. Hundreds have gathered here today at Veterans Park to pay tribute to the victims and honor their memory.
Every year we should come back here. I was here a year ago when we had our memorial and our remembrance. It's important to really support the families that lost their loved ones, to show them that we care as a town, as a community, and as a people. Time does heal, but it will never heal their wounds completely. And the important thing is for those that remain to continue to move forward.
The memorial follows a torch lighting event at 1:22 a.m., which is the exact time the collapse took place. People then continued their remembrance at a nearby Veterans Park at 10 a.m.
So I am a Surfside community member and was here right when the collapse occurred, and got a call from a friend who actually alerted me at 6:30 in the morning, and then immediately went to see what was going on from my balcony. Also, I'm a psychologist, and so I tried to assist other people. And then because of it, I became a Red Cross volunteer for disaster mental health. We still don't exactly know what happened and why the tragedy occurred, even though, we got a little preliminary report, which really didn't say anything more than I already thought I knew. But we are all in this together.
All that's left of my grandmother is what she left in me. One of my favorite quotes is that an inheritance is what you leave for somebody, but a legacy is what you leave in somebody. And what more could I do to honor my grandmother than to share the love and the encouragement that my grandmother would want me to share with everybody, because that's what she poured into me.
Although the victims have passed, their memory will forever live on in the hearts of those who have gathered here today. I'm Layan Abu Tarbush reporting for the Caplin News.
Delays at Miami International Airport this morning after dozens of flights got canceled by severe weekend storms. At one point, there were nearly 40 flight cancellations, so check with your airline before you head out to MIA. Meanwhile, things are back to normal at Port Miami after a fatal boating crash closed the port. At about dinner time last night, Post officials tweeted that normal operations have resumed. Crowds were seen waiting to board cruise liners until nearly 3 a.m.
Closing arguments in the trial of former Parkland School Resource Officer Scott Peterson begin today. Peterson is a school resource officer who was charged with child neglect and inaction to stop the gunman in the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooting that killed 17 people in 2018. During the last day of defense testimony on Friday, a fellow deputy testified that Peterson failed to follow his active shooter training. The deputy also said all departments involved made crucial mistakes.
After the fact, we learned that, hey, we've got one crime scene, one incident. We have two different agencies running two different operations that aren't communicating with each other and have two different sets of intelligence. It was a total failure on both agencies, to be honest with you.
If found all guilty of all charges, Peterson could spend the rest of his life in jail.
Cleanup this morning after severe weather damages at least 75 homes. Spotted tornadoes near Indianapolis yesterday still need confirmation from the National Weather Service. Despite how bad this video looks, there are no reported deaths or injuries. The twisters were formed due to high temperatures, humidity, and strong wind.
Today, the world is getting a grip on what actually happened over the weekend as Russian mercenary group Wagner Group backs out of an armed rebellion. Over the weekend, Russian President Vladimir Putin faced the greatest threat to his authority in decades when Wagner forces pushed towards Moscow, demanding retaliation. Officials with the European Union says it is dangerous to destabilize a nuclear power such as Russia.
What has happened during this weekend shows that the war against Ukraine is cracking Russian power.
Wagner boss Yevgeny Prigozhin later turned back his troops and agreed to leave Russia for Belarus. In exchange, criminal charges against him were dropped.
A new investigation into the details of the Titan submersible tragedy is in the works with the chance to open criminal proceedings. CNN correspondent Gloria Pazmino is in Boston this morning.
Now, the Marine Board of Investigation is the highest level of investigation that the U.S. Coast Guard can conduct regarding any kind of maritime incident. And what it will allow is for the Coast Guard to leverage all of its resources, including working with international partners. Now, this is a multi-step process, and right now they are in the first phase, which is to gather evidence. They've had the Odysseus 6000 out at the bottom of the ocean looking for pieces of the vessel, looking to recover more pieces of evidence. Once that's completed, they will hold a public hearing, collect more testimony and more evidence, and then they will continue this investigation. I want you to listen from public officials talking about what's next in the process.
During the course of the MBI, the board will first and primarily work to determine the cause of this marine casualty and the 5 associated deaths. The MBI, however, is also responsible for accountability aspects of the incident, and it can make recommendations to the proper authorities to pursue civil or criminal sanctions as necessary.
Now, any kind of subsequent enforcement will be done under a separate investigation. And one last important point is that the Marine Board of Investigation is working with the UK, the US, and France, and that reflects the nationalities of the 5 people who were on board of the Titan. So you see this multinational effort to try and bring some closure to these families. In fact, the Rear Admiral of the Coast Guard said that he had visited St. John's, right where we are, to meet with the family members who returned here on Saturday. Now, when the investigation is completed, they will issue a report and make recommendations. The point here is not just to understand what happened, but also to ensure that safety protocols are improved so that these submersible expeditions can be done safely. Reporting from Newfoundland, Gloria Pasmino.
The Marlins look to close out with the series win over the Pittsburgh Pirates.
That's still ahead, and so is this story.
This is all my people. I sold over 1,000 tickets.
South Florida gets the chance to see an extraordinary show. Newsbreak will be back in 2 minutes.
How prepared is your family if a tornado shows up at your doorstep, or a flood, or a hurricane? You can't just turn away a natural disaster. That's why it's important to go to ready.gov/plan now. It has the tools and tips you need to make an emergency plan with your family. So if disaster comes knocking,
let's go.
You'll be ready to help keep your family safe.
It's just a pizza.
Yes. Make a plan today.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right because a few hours ago in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign, not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a 4th ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children, she didn't know what to do. She gave them some broth without any bread and kissed them all soundly.
Lights out.
And put them to bed. Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org.
I help our fellows design their paths as creative entrepreneurs. My experiences serving startups, creative businesses, and cultural organizations, and my journey as a queer mixed immigrant with Haitian and Arabic roots, informed the co-creative environment we foster at Radcliffe. We leverage our collective diversity to encourage the building of lifelong personal learning networks and mindsets that stimulate continuous innovation.
Bloodied up and banging, a rough show in South Florida, leaving audiences excited. Today, fighters are recovering after taking off their gloves for bare-knuckle boxing.
Caplin News reporter Jared Parker was at their event Friday night in Hollywood.
Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship is here in Hollywood for Palomino versus Lilly, and they have a full night of fights ahead of them.
A handful of South Florida natives put on a show in Hollywood on Friday for Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. If you're unfamiliar with the sport, it's just like boxing, except with no gloves. Of course, that leads to more blood and more knockouts. One of those brawlers, Guillermo Perez, had an eventful weekend, winning by knockout on Friday after slapping TikTok star Bryce Hall, who has over 6 million followers, the day before.
He wants to come to bare knuckle and he wants to disrespect the sport and fight another influencer. That's not going to happen. That's my ring. That's my square circle.
The local fighters love the chance to fight in front of their home crowd. Brian El Gallo Duran got to deliver a win in front of his fans.
And I seen the crowd when I came out. This is all my people. I sold over 1,000 tickets, so you guys already know half of these people are here for me.
Some of the fighters, like James Dennis, took delight in winning in front of the hostile home crowd.
It feels really good to win after that. I was prepared for the booze, though. Definitely prepared for it.
Miami would finish victorious in the main event, though, with Peruvian-born Luis Palomino, who has made Miami his home, defending his championship title. South Florida-based fighters finished the night with 7 wins and 3 losses.
Palomino successfully defended his belt, calling out former UFC champion Eddie Alvarez. In Hollywood, I'm Jared Parker for Caplin News.
Another series win for the Miami Marlins at home as they beat the Pittsburgh Pirates. Marlins rookie Yuri Perez had a good performance, scattering 4 hits and striking out 9 batters in 6 innings played. Luis Arias, on the other hand, went 1 for 4, lowering his batting average to just .399. The final score was Marlins 2, Pirates 0. The Marlins now head to Massachusetts to face the Boston Red Sox and the Green Monster tomorrow at 7:10 p.m. You're watching Newsbreak, and we're coming right back.
Really use a new tablet. I just don't have the money.
Let me ask you something. Do you have a Pell Grant?
Yes.
You do know you can get a free tablet, right?
Did you say free?
Yeah, free. It's simple. And the application is done in the store.
I could really use a tablet.
Go get one. Another satisfied customer. Stop by Panther in the Graham Center at FIU MMC today to speak with one of our associates to get your free tablet.
Type 2 diabetes can have a big impact on your life. But how can it be prevented? Well, the first step is knowing if you have something called prediabetes. Take the 1-minute risk test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
That's all the time we have for Newsbreak. I'm Lauren Wirtz.
And I'm Kenneth Bueno. Get more news anytime at caplinnews.fiu.edu.